be accordingly. You're chill with, hey, this was 2,000 years ago. That's it. I don't need any updated communication. I'm cool with that. There hasn't been any communication. I'm cool with that. You're cool with that, right, Greg?
No, I'm not cool with that, because that's not the way I see it. Because God left us His Word, and He gives us divine communication through His Word every day. Not to mention, Bible prophecy talks about a lot of things happening in our day and age, and tell us they are signs of Jesus' soon coming, and to prepare for His return. And so I think there's our divine communication.
Has there been any experiences of miracles in your life that you felt like, hey, I know, or is what you know on a conceptual level, like, hey, you know what, sounds pretty good to me, I'm going with it? Or did you have experiences in your life say, you know what, this is divine right here?
Yeah, well, the one experience that I can say that I had, which I believe is divine, is God changing me as a person. I'm not the same person that I used to be. I don't know if you heard me talking about it, but I used to live a criminal life. I was a drug dealer. I spent 8 years in federal prison for drug trafficking and gun possession, and that's where I became a Christian. And I'm not that person anymore. God changed me. That's evidence of a miracle. That's something divine. Now, that's not the only thing I base my faith on, though. I also believe in Bible prophecy. I had a lot of doubts when I first started reading and studying the Bible, and I prayed a lot about it. But when I started studying Bible prophecy, it really convinced me that, hey, there's something about this book. It foretells things that have come to pass and things which are still going to come to pass. I think this is of God.
Okay. In my life, I grew up, the disciplinary, or the people that changed my life were my parents. I mean, when I was a kid, I'd steal a comic book here and there. But my dad and my parents, they made sure I stayed correct. I've never been to prison. I've never been on drugs. I was never part of that. I attribute my who I am as a person to the environment I grew up in. I mean, I grew up in Orange County, with predominantly Caucasian middle class neighborhoods. And you listen to the way I talk and how I act. It's from the environment I grew up in, and that set me straight. That made me a good person. I early on, I knew the difference between right and wrong. I didn't. I'm not looking to take other people's property or kill anybody or anything like that. But that wasn't through the help of anything divine. It was just.
But this is what I'm about to say right now. Are you truly a good person, or do you think you're good because you're comparing yourself to other people? What is the standard of goodness?
What is the standard? It's the standard of goodness. It's what we know in our, in the reality that we're in. We know, like, okay, I'm gonna borrow something, and you're gonna tell me, oh, I got you. Okay, you know that whole golden rule. You want to others as you would have done unto them. Well, first, before you claim biblical copyright on that, it was taught by Confucius 500 years before the Bible. You know that, right? If you're not aware of that, you can check it out. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, came from Confucianism 500 years before. Right. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the Bible, its ideas, its wisdom, its parables, stuff like that, it's borrowed from different things before the Bible was even created. So I think there's common wisdom, and but when it was made into this whole thing, and you know what, Christianity, if it wasn't for Constantinople, the first Roman emperor or whatever like that, I mean, Christianity wouldn't even gone further. Yeah. Constantine was Constantine. It wouldn't even have existed. I mean, it is amazing that it's carried on. But now
we can't say that because we don't know exactly what would have happened, but he did play a part.
Right, but now we have all these players in the game, just from the Bible alone. You have the Mormons, you have Jehovah's Witnesses, you have Baptists, Methodists, Catholicism. You can go on and on. There's so many derivatives, and so now where are we? You're going to have a different. Your interpretation of what it is going to be different from somebody else's interpretation. Your justification could be justification for somebody else. Like, for example, we had slavery here in the United States. We genocided the Native Americans. We brought them our Christian religion. And part of this was in the Bible. It says, hey, sometimes you have to treat your slaves nice and stuff like that. So that was kind of condoned. And then we also burned women at the stake.
Slavery in the Bible, don't get it twisted. Slavery in the Bible is different than African
because look, if we allowed Greg and the religion he believed in to govern instead of the government that we have, that's if it's supposed to be secular. And we allowed, and hold on, before I even go further, I'm not making any kind of atheist argument. I'm being kind of like, I'm just trying to create a bigger picture that, yeah, I understand that you believe in this religions and things like that. You also have to see the number of people that have died in the name of God, and the violence it's caused, the prejudices it's caused, how it's segregated society, all the injustices, and the only thing that's keeping religious zealotry in check is because we have laws. Greg can't come to my house.
Christianity is the problem.
No, religion. You can say religion in general. I'm not going to pick on Christianity. But, Greg can't come to my house. Greg can't come to my house and cut my head off because I don't believe in his God. I have laws that protect me.
But let's say you want me to do that anyway, so I wouldn't. This is not Islam.
And it's also not the Spanish Inquisition where they did do that to babies under the name of.
But you have to understand, they had no justification from the Bible to do that. You are aware of that, right? As a matter of fact, the Roman Catholic Church, they forbid people to read the Bible for like 1,000 years.
Right, but Islam doesn't say that. Hey, well, maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, at least the Muslims. Yeah. Well, at least the Muslims I grew up with here in the United States. I mean, we didn't go around killing people. This whole
because in the United States you have a lot of moderate Muslims, and they're peaceful people. I agree with you. I've known a lot of kind, peaceful Muslims. But you go to the Middle East, that's not the case in some of those countries over there. They're pretty radical.
That's right. That's why I live here in the United States. I wouldn't live there either. Those people are crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm Arab, but I'm not a terrorist. But in our mainstream media, maybe that's a good agenda to push because it makes it easier to go to war. When you demonize people and you make them seem less than human. Oh yeah, we can kill a few 100,000 Arabs. They're just a bunch of towel-head camel jockeys. Who cares? And I don't see Christians when we bombed the country like Iraq in the last decade, and we killed in some estimates upwards of 1 million people. Okay, all right. You get some conservative propaganda estimates of a couple 100,000, but some independent estimates come to 1 million. I didn't see Christians running in the street saying this is against our religion. We don't believe thou shalt not kill. We're not into this. We don't know if what you're telling us is real, that these people are as bad, or you guys didn't decide to invade this country to secure the oil interests because you're there to basically rape people of their resources and make up an excuse like they're evil or they're Hitler-esque just to go into war in a place like Iran. Yeah, but I'll give you an example because you're a Christian. I'm saying, like, how come you guys weren't out in the streets protesting the war? Because you guys...
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to answer your question with a question. Were you out in the streets protesting the war?
I was protesting it. Yes, I was. Because you know what? It wasn't just about the whole thing of being Arabs. You're illegally invading a country according to international law, bombing people indiscriminately, and causing all this destruction just to rape the country of its resources. I mean, it's a wrong thing. I'm not going to support that. I mean, even at the base moral view, I wouldn't support it. I'd be against it. But Christians who are even supposed to be a model of morality, they forgoed all that. I mean, whatever. United States policy.
Look what you're doing now. Look what you're doing. Right. First of all, you say you're blaming everything on Christians. First of all, you say Christianity is a problem and it's a good thing that we have laws to keep Christianity in check. And then you turn around and say Christians should have been running out in the street when the United States was bombing Arab countries. And and the Christian churches enforcing that and supporting the United States in that. So that doesn't make sense to me. Why are you going to those two extremes and blaming it all on Christianity?
Because like when a movie like from Mel Gibson comes out about Jesus, these people are out there with picket signs and going, oh, I guess this. But when there's a war going on, I want to see that same kind of activism out on the streets from them. It just seems like you want to. Okay, I just like to use the old adage. You want to see people practice what they preach. I mean, show be an example. What I'm saying is you don't have to do anything, and I'm not putting anything on Christians to do this or do that. But it would be nice to see them being a model or an example of the teachings of Christ, rather than just try to be in the business and the game of converting people all the time. It's like, hey, you got to believe, we're all sinners, and if you don't believe in it, you're going to go to hell. It's a very negative message. So people always look to people that practice what they